right. So what
Sunny
time is it
afternoon
now?
in Canada. So I got 7 o'clock.
Yeah, two
You
o'clock here.
guys 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. Very nice. So thank you for joining us. I'm sure you've had a busy morning.
Thanks for having me.
Oh no, that's fine. So I'll give you a brief introduction because obviously nobody actually knows why you're here yet. So it's quite good. We've kept it under wraps until this point.
Yeah,
For our viewers and listeners, hello, David Lalonde from Rabbit Hole Roasters in Montreal, in Canada, and we are
absolutely.
incredibly excited to have you on board as our first transatlantic roaster in the main sub. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I didn't know where you're first from the America. So that's pretty awesome.
So yeah, we brought some cat and cloud home in a suitcase once, but that doesn't quite
Okay,
count.
okay, it's okay. Still counts a little bit.
Oh dear. So yeah, so it'd be really interested to kind of let our subscribers kind of understand a little bit about your journey. It sounds like it's been yeah, a long and winding road from where you started to the roastery. So,
Absolutely. You mean rabbit hole progress or like me personally more
well,
like my
you
coffee journey?
personally, yeah. So I know you've
Okay.
kind of detoured around a few other roasters. I think you took in the Canadian Barista Championships at one point as well. So
Uh, I
yeah.
made the finals, but like I didn't win. So there's a lot
Uh,
of really good baristas here. But yeah, I used to be in the like I've always liked tasting things, like since I can remember, like everything since I was a kid. And I worked in the restaurant business for about 10 years. I know I look like I'm 22, but I'm actually 35 years old. So I actually worked in another business in coffee for 10 years before switching to coffee. And I remember like when I left Montreal. I left for a journey that was supposed to be about like 4 to 6 months, and I ended up traveling for 3 years. I met a Belgian woman. We're married, having kids, and now we live in Canada. So it was a pretty crazy ride. But when I left Montreal for that trip in the beginning, there was absolutely no like specialty coffee in Montreal. Like it was non-existent. It really started out more like in the United States, like West Coast, then it moved to like the center of the United States, and at the same time, kind of like Western Canada, especially like BC and Calgary.
yeah.
And but when I left, it was the day. There's a very famous cafe in Montreal that's called the Cafe Myriad, and it was the first one. It was opened by Scott Rayo and one of his partner back in the
Oh,
days.
okay.
And my flight was, I don't know, about like 12 hours after the opening of Myriad. And then a coffee friend of mine, like a super coffee geek, he invited me there before I went. But I was like, my head was more like, do I have my visa? Do I have my credit card? Like everything. So it just took me. I saw the latte art. I didn't really care for it. I was just like, I need to go to Asia. Like I need to go there. But I remember like the place. It was gorgeous. But then like when I came back 3 years later, worked in the restaurant industry, and the same friend takes me out for a coffee, and I could taste blueberries like in the coffee. And I was just like, I asked for this. Look at the barista straight dead in his eye, and I was just like, I didn't ask for it to be flavored. Like, can you please remake so I've come a long way, right? Because that was my real first experience that I can remember. And he explained to me it was a natural Yirgacheffe from Ethiopia. And then basically, I think about like 2 months after that, like I left the restaurant industry. I was like, I was managing two really high volume restaurant in like downtown in Old Port, Montreal, super busy restaurant. I was having like a nice little career there. And I was just like, nope, I need to make coffee. So done that, started to work part-time in cafes. And then from there, I just like kind of did couple of different things like I was account manager for a couple of roasters here. Then I got a bit into training or wholesale accounts. And then I really liked the teaching aspect of it because I had to research so much if I really want to be a good teacher. And I was so new to coffee, so it was a good way for me to basically learn and then try to see if it all made sense when I was explaining to other people. So I actually started a business that was called the Montreal Coffee Academy, with the actual first guy who gave me a chance in coffee, who hired me as a non-experienced barista. Then did that for a couple of years and then sold him the business. Then went on to do some other wild shenanigans, like became a Q grader in the mix.
Oh, a
Com
toughie.
yeah, and then competed in a couple of barista competition. And I was like, yeah, nobody seems to kind of want to do all of my ideas at all time, especially when I was working with roasters, like coffee from wild origin and like doing like kind of a different approach. And I was just like, there's only one solution, and is that I've got to start my own coffee roastery if I really, really want to do everything that I feel like doing. And to be honest, like the thing that interests me the most is like building relationship, especially like at origin, and understanding like sustainability, like from a like especially at origin, because like I don't, even if I have a roastery, like I'm just starting to learn about this. I have like really good friends helping me develop those relationships, but like I started a roastery mostly for like the green buying aspect of it, and now I'm my own best client, so I buy the coffee for Rabbit Hole. So it's that's in a nutshell. Like maybe it was a bit long of an answer, but that's my journey so far.
It's a fantastic journey. It paints the picture of how you got to where you are. And there's a lot of themes which you've kind of gone through there, which are going to come up later, I imagine,
Yeah,
especially around origin and
yeah.
tasting things. Because do you want to talk to us about your cupping obsession? I mean, you might need to get some help for that, from what I understand.
For cupping, yeah, that's like I don't cup as much as I would love to cup. Like, of course, I cup our production, make sure that everything's on point. I also we one of the things that we do at Rabbit Hole is that we don't take on a lot of a wholesale account. It's kind of a lot of work, and I really want to be able to give like the best service possible. But one of the things that we do with any real partner, like sometimes we're featured here and there, like in the States or in random cafes across Canada. But like for real partners, like long term, we develop like a custom blend just for them. So my partner Sophie, she designs everything, the label, and like she makes sure that like it's to the liking of like our partner. But like I design the blends for them, so I need to do a lot of cupping for that type of stuff because they give me kind of a general profile, and I don't have like a million origins on hand, so sometimes I have to come up with like creative ways to say, oh, how can I achieve kind of those flavor profiles. And so I love it. But just cupping in general, I just think it's like the world is kind of, especially these days, is kind of a crazy place. But even like prior to like this COVID business, I always felt kind of a bit overwhelmed. It's like super noisy. Everything needs to go like super, super fast. I also have two small kids at home.
Oh
So this
yes.
doesn't slow the pace down at all, at all. I'm sure you know about that. And so when I cup coffee, it's pretty much, I really feel like time stops just for a second there. And I can really just live through my senses. And since like I remember like tasting random candies with my grandfather, I would always close my eyes and just like make sure it was like my favorite flavor, ice cream, like all that type of stuff, right? So when I cup, it's the most zen experience that I can have, like pretty much. So it's, I know I'm in the zone, and especially with the origin that we bring forward with Rabbit Hole, there are some. I could talk about this later probably, but like there are some wild, wild, wild tasting notes, and I have to dig deep in my olfactory memory. So I really need my headphones, not for music, just to cut off the noise and just really, really be like in the zone to find, I don't know, like kiwi and sage, like in the coffee, which was our last Papua New Guinea we just launched. It's a very cool coffee, but it took me a second to get there.
Oh yeah, and it's a really mindful thing, isn't it? Especially as you said, it's such a busy world and crazy, especially more so now. It's good to
Yeah,
just be able to lock yourself away and just have that focus. And coffee, how if you're
yeah,
brewing or cupping, I think it's a process you have to go through, and it just gets you into that. It's really good.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, no, fantastic. And I know another thing that you like to do is something that we do as well. That if you are cupping, you sometimes like to have like a bit of a break in the middle and go and have another coffee, and then come back to the cupping. So I mean, I thought that was just us who did that. So I'm glad that you said that you did it too.
Yeah, no, I do it. Like I can't. It's just like it's not because we work in coffee that they need to take a coffee break away. Like this is not the way it's supposed to be, you know. So you gotta get that coffee. Like it's just I don't know.